Hi everyone, today I have come with the last video for the chapter How do organisms reproduce. So today in the video I'll be discussing about the process of fertilization till the delivery or the giving birth of the baby by the process of parturition, and also I'll discuss about menstruation, sexual health and sexually transmitted diseases or the STDs. Now to start with, we'll talk about or we'll get to know about the process of fertilization. We'll recapitulate what I have already discussed in my previous video, and we'll talk a little bit about the process. How does it take place? In the female reproductive system, as we all know, it is provided with two ovaries. There are two ovaries, and every month one of the ovary releases a matured egg into the female reproductive system. So the releasing of a matured egg from the ovary into the fallopian tube or the oviduct is known as ovulation. Now after the egg is released, this egg starts traveling through the fallopian tube. Now during the course or during the time of sexual intercourse, the sperms are allowed, or the sperms enter the vagina and it starts traveling. It's moved through the cervix and the urethra and the fallopian tube. Mind it is not only 1, 2 or 10 sperms that's traveling. There are millions and millions of sperm that keeps traveling from the vagina, cervix, urethra and the fallopian tube. But it is only one lucky sperm which is able to come and fertilize with the egg that is resting in the fallopian tube. And this time, the time duration for the process of fertilization is around 24 hours. After that time, the egg that is produced or the egg that is being put into the fallopian tube is ready to receive the sperm. Now immediately after the sperm fertilizes and the sperm comes and fuses with the egg stops receiving any more sperms. It does not receive or it does not allow any more other sperms to come and fertilize. And the process by which the sperm fuses with the egg is known as fertilization. The process by which this sperm comes and fuses with the egg is known as fertilization. Now the thing that is the fusion of the egg and the sperm is known as a zygote. It is a single cell stage. Now immediately after the formation of zygote, the cell or the zygote starts dividing. It starts to form a mass of cells. It starts to increasing the cell number, and by doing that it starts traveling through the fallopian tube and comes into the uterus. Now after reaching the uterus, I have also discussed that every month when there is a release of a matured egg into the fallopian tube, even the uterus also prepares itself to receive that particular fertilized zygote. So for that, what it does, the inner lining of the uterus starts to thicken up. It starts thickening. Once it gets thickened up, this wall gets thickened up and it is ready to receive the embryo. The uterus prepares itself, and this thickening is known as the endometrium. This endometrium receives the embryo, and the embryo implants itself onto this thickening of the uterus, and this process is known as implantation. The process by which the embryo comes and fits itself or sits itself into the endometrium is known as implantation. Now this implantation takes place because the growing embryo needs nutrition and nourishment, and this is provided by this endometrium. So the embryo comes and implants itself onto the endometrium to receive the food and the nourishment of the nutrition. And once it implants itself onto this, this is the embryo that is implanted onto the endometrium. It starts to grow. The cell starts to divide, and slowly it starts to form different organs. And once it takes the shape of that of a small baby, it is known as the fetus. The embryo comes to be known as the fetus. Now this fetus receives nourishment, nutrition, and also gives out the carbon dioxide and the waste material through a particular structure which is known as the placenta, through a particular structure. This structure is actually a disc-shaped structure. It fits itself on this part of the uterus, and it is a disc-shaped, flat disc-shaped structure which goes and fits into the endometrium. And this placenta is a disc-shaped structure, and it consists of the villi towards the mother's side. It consists of some finger-like projections, a finger-like projection towards the mother's side, and it has got blood spaces here. Now this finger-like projections, what it does, it provides or it increases the surface area. So the surface area of absorption may it be the absorption of oxygen from the blood, or may it be the absorption of nourishment, the nutrition, the food from the blood. It increases, and this what the placenta absorbs from the blood, may it be oxygen or nutrition, is passed from the placenta through this umbilical cord, and it is sent or it is received by the fetus. This is how the fetus keeps on growing, through the nutrition of the mother. This is how, and the waste material from the fetus, that is, it either may be a carbon dioxide or the waste food, it is again passed through this and it is given out into the placenta. The placenta then takes it and it is passed into the placenta, takes it and it is ejected into the mother's blood, which carries the waste, and it is given out through the excretory process of the mother. So this is how the baby gets the nourishment, oxygen, and gives out the carbon dioxide and also the waste products through the mothers, and it starts to grow. Now this is the development of the fetus that starts to take place. And it takes around 9 to 9.5 months for the complete development of the fetus. And the time taken, for the development of the fetus is called the gestation period. So till now I have told you what is ovulation, what is fertilization, what is implantation, and I have told you about gestation. Gestation is the time taken for the growth of the fetus. It is around 270 to 280 days approximately. So this is how it grows, and finally it becomes a complete fetus which needs to be delivered, or it needs to come out, or it gets out of the mother's body. So the process by which a baby is delivered, or the baby is delivered and it comes out of the mother's body, is known as parturition. During this process of parturition, that is the delivering of the baby, another hormone is secreted in the mother's body which helps in the delivery of the baby, or it helps in the process of parturition, is called oxytocin. This hormone is secreted which helps in the delivery. So first it is that the head comes out, following the whole body, and once the baby comes out, along with its the umbilical cord, which is then cut and it is separated out, and last the placenta also comes out, which is a mass of blood vessels and mucus, which has been used to provide nutrition and nourishment and all the requirements to the fetus from the mother's body. So this is the process. So we have discussed about the process of fertilization, implantation, gestation, and finally parturition. Now the question comes, or now we are going to discuss, so this we have discussed everything, that if a egg is fertilized, what all the process happens, or what all the process takes place. But what if the process of fertilization has not taken place? What if the egg that has been put into the fallopian tube by the process of ovulation has not been fertilized? So what happens, This thickening, previous to that, when the ovulation or where the egg starts to mature, immediately the uterus lining also starts to develop. The inner side of the uterus lining starts to develop or starts to grow. That is, the endometrium becomes thicker by the blood capillaries and the mucus. Now, when this egg comes into the fallopian tube, it stays there for 24 hours. But the egg did not get fertilized. So what happens? The egg becomes inviable and the egg loses its viability, so it comes into the uterus, and when the body finds that the egg is not fertilized, then this thickening or the endometrium is also broken off. So the body or the human or the female reproductive system, it eliminates the uterus or it eliminates the endometrium from the inner lining or the thickening in the form of blood. The mucus and the blood, it comes out in the form of blood and it comes out through the vagina, and the process by which the thickening or the endometrium is ruptured and it comes out in the form of blood and mucus is known as menstruation. So this shedding of this blood is called menstruation. This fluid that comes out contains blood, that is inner lining, all the endometrial cells, and also the mucus. The duration for the process of menstruation, it lasts about 3 to 1 week, or that is 3 to 7 days. The starting of the process of menstruation is after the girl reaches its puberty or its adolescence. Because in my last video I had told you that once a girl reaches the puberty, it also marks the onset of menstruation. And the starting of menstruation is known as menarche. Whereas when a female or a woman reaches the age of around 45 to 50, this process of menstruation or the process of ovulation or the process of egg formation completely stops. It stops permanently, and that is known as menopause. So menarche is the starting of the menstrual cycle that comes with the onset of puberty. It comes with the onset of puberty, while the stop or the permanently closing of the menstrual cycle, that is, there is no ovulation or no discharge of the eggs, is known as menopause. So finally, we'll talk about sexual health and sexually transmitted diseases. So what is sexual health, or what does actually sexual health means? Reproductive health or sexual health is a physical and mental and social state of mind and body in which a female is ready to accept, or a female is ready to be a mother. Because a girl becomes or is viable or is able to give birth to a child immediately after the onset of puberty. That is, once the menstrual cycle starts, the girl can become pregnant and finally give birth to a child. But it is not always that a girl is mentally ready to do that. A family planning or a giving birth or having a child is an important decision, and it should be taken both by the boy as well as the girl. Boy and the girl, or man or a woman, must be mentally prepared enough to have a child, and then only they should go for it. Then only they should prepare, or then only they should think of having a kid or having a child. Because bringing up a child is not so easy. So we all have to be very clear. So everyone, the boy or the girl, has to have a proper state of mind, proper physical health before thinking of a baby. The girl or the woman should be completely fit enough to think of becoming a mother. And this, even the giving birth to a baby, the difference between two babies and also it should be a safe and effective way, and also it should be done through proper contraception methods. The difference between two kids should be thought about properly, and it should be maintained properly through proper contraception methods. Now, what is contraception? Contraception is described as a birth control measure through deliberate prevention of conception. To deliberate prevention, it is through some means we deliberately stop from bringing or getting or conceiving or conception. So how do we do that, or how is that brought about? There are different methods of contraception. First is a mechanical method. The first is the mechanical contraception methods, like the mechanical methods, that is some barrier which stops the sperm from moving into the vagina. This can be of the condoms which are used by the male, so that it regulates or it stops the movement or the passage of the sperms from the male body into the female body. And for females also, they are cervical caps, which is for the vagina, which stops the entry of the sperm. There are chemical methods, that is the intake of some oral contraceptive pills by the females, and this may be taken on a regular basis over the months when they do not want to have any type of conception, or it can be taken at a time when they want to prevent it. But because they are medicines and they are chemical medicines, they are chemicals, so there is always a risk of side effects through this process of chemical contraception. Another method, which is a very healthy method, is the use of some contraceptive devices like that of copper T, which is inserted into the uterus of a woman. This is done by a caretaker or by a midwife or by a doctor only after having the consent of the woman as well as the husband and the wife. It is done. This method of contraception is very effective, as it does not allow the implantation of a fertilized egg. It does not allow the implantation of a fertilized egg onto the endometrium of the uterus of a woman. And other surgical methods are also there for contraception, which include vasectomy in males, that is the vas deferens, that is through which the sperms travel, they are blocked. So the traveling of the sperms is blocked, so there is no coming out, or there is during the sexual intercourse there is no transfer of the sperms from the male reproductive into the female reproductive system. And the other is the tubectomy, which is done for the females. In that, the fallopian tube is clipped and it is cut, so that there is no travel or there is no movement of the egg. There is no movement of the egg into the uterus. There are some common methods by the process or for the process of contraception, because having a kid or having a baby should be well planned and should be well thought enough. When a woman is mentally and physically ready for undergoing or becoming a mother, then only she must be allowed or she must become a mother, because becoming a mother is not very easy. Even the human body, the body of the female, has to undergo lots of changes which she has to go through. And finally, we'll talk about the sexually transmitted diseases. During the process of intercourse or during the process of intercourse without any protection, many times there is always a risk of sexually transmitted diseases. Even during the process of intercourse, there can be RTIs, that is the reproductive tract infections. They could lead to cancers, and the sexually transmitted diseases leads to the transfer of virus, that is the virus as well as bacteria. Bacterial infections that cause STDs are like that the gonorrhea and syphilis, whereas the viral infections which is a very common disease, and it's known as acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. This is caused by the virus HIV, which is a deadly disease. So to prevent all these diseases, we must be very careful while having, or people must be very careful while having a sexual intercourse to prevent these diseases, have a happy, healthy life with proper childbirth and safety measures taken about. So this brings more or less to the end of a chapter, that is how do organisms reproduce. We have covered for asexual reproduction, sexual reproduction in plants, in animals, and we have also covered the process of fertilization and how the child or a baby is born by the process of parturition, menstruation, and finally we have talked about reproductive health and sexually transmitted diseases. So if you have liked my video, please like, share and subscribe to my channel. The next video that I'll be coming up with is the question and answers for this chapter, that is how do organisms reproduce. Till then, goodbye, take care and stay safe.